Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of HBCU. As you know, HBCUs have filled the gap for education for communities of color for more than a century and a half. My guest today is an actor, producer, comedian, and dancer. He is known for shows and movies such as Flex and Shanice, Snakes on a Plane, One-on-One, and The Hill Have Eyes Too. Please help me welcome Flex Alexander to HBCU.
Hey, what's
Flex.
going on, man?
Glad to have you on the show,
My
man.
disclaimer, I don't dance anymore, so we're going to have to take that off the bio.
Well, that was going to be the first thing I was going to ask you to do was to dance, man.
Yeah, them days are gone, bro.
But Flex, this show we feel like is doing some really important work around the country, and the goal is to shine a spotlight on HBCUs and individuals that have been impacted by HBCUs. Now, me, myself, I attended Alcorn State University, but I transferred to the University of Memphis where I graduated. And I often tell everyone that I think that's one of my biggest regrets is that I did not complete my higher education at an HBCU.
Yeah.
Now, I know you went to St. Augustine, attended there.
Didn't
finish. But you were, but you pledged Phi Beta Sigma there,
Beta Sigma,
right?
Yes, sir.
And so HBCUs still have an impact. I mean, I have memories from Alcorn as if it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But just talk to me about the time you were there.
I mean, it was brief, but it was fun. I mean, one thing, coming from New York and going down to North Carolina, back then, that's when people down south would be like, "Oh, you from up north?" And it was a big deal. So I was the guy that, the dancer. I played basketball, and I would say pretty popular. With everybody. It was just fun. It's like when you look at a different world. You think about school and the impact that show had on. Us as black, teens going into our adulthood, black men and women. It was a huge impact, and I'm like, I wanted a piece of that. So it still holds today. You hold those friendships and those brotherhoods, and friendships for a lifetime. Yeah,
it's a camaraderie. It's a close knit community.
Yeah.
When I transferred to the University of Memphis, I was more isolated. I had a group of friends that were there with me, but it was a totally different feel from being on an HBCU campus. Yeah. And I remember some of the things that we did while we were in school, like making cheese toast with an iron.
Man,
you ever did that?
Listen, grilled cheese with an iron, the ramen noodles. If you was fancy, you had tuna fish you put in your ramen noodles.
Yeah, that was gourmet.
That was gourmet. The Bisquick biscuits, we make those, and we get grandma's molasses, and we needed something there to fill you up.
Right. You wanted to hold you. Right.
Yes, sir. Man, those things last, and I think that's what this generation is missing.
Right.
Those hard times.
Yeah.
These kids are going to school now. It's like, Mom, Dad, can you cash at me? And back then, you had to figure it out.
From their cell phone. Everybody have a cell phone.
Everybody got a cell phone. You back then, you either made a collect call and hoped your mama accepted it.
Right. Now, I'm going to talk about a big aspect of the HBCU life. And that's the Greek life component. I'm a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, proud life member. I won't, I know you're a member of Phi Beta Sigma. I won't hold that against you. I know you wore your blue suit and everything.
I had to wear my blue.
My wife is your soror. She's a Zeta Phi Beta.
Yes, sir. But it's all love,
It's all love. But talk to me about Greek life and how that impacted you both professionally and socially.
I think socially, it again, even from different fraternities, it's still one big fraternity.
Right.
I think it grooms you and professionally as well, because so many people from all fraternities have gone on to do great things in the community, business. I have friends that are dentists, friends that are lawyers. I have Kappa friends that are heading major corporations, and I think that's the beautiful thing. And a lot of people focus on what is and what isn't, like, we're not really Greek and all that, and I get that, but I think the idea was the sense of community that our founders, thought of, and overall, I think that is the most important message, is the togetherness with the bros and the sisters, to hold each other down, to again, you can be 20, 25 years later, 30 years later, and you may have a friend that you crossed with, or
Right.
you knew from another fraternity, but still there's that sense of togetherness, and I think that is the thing that has affected me the most. And I mean, I'm not super active. Like, I got friends now still going to get people crossed. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you 54. Like, cut it out. But I still, show my love and appreciate what it did.
No, absolutely. For me, it has presented just unprecedented networking opportunities.
Definitely.
I mean, obviously the social aspect of it is unmatched.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
You win and gain brothers. For life.
For life.
But from a professional perspective, it's just been unreal in terms of how I've been able to open doors and meet people and advance my business through those fraternal relationships.
Yeah.
And that's a major part of the HBCU experience. I mean, it's part of the college experience as well,
Right.
but it's something unique.
It's different.
Yeah, it's something unique.
Different. It's like you in school and you're getting that experience, but the other side is another experience. It's like we get a double dose.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about your professional career.
Yeah.
When did you? Because I know you didn't come from the best circumstances.
Right,
you had your
right.
challenges in life.
Yeah.
When did you get your big break?
I came up in the Bronx, and like you said, went through a lot coming up. That in '85, that crack era hit, and it decimated the community and just our community especially. And I just always had aspirations of getting out. I had aspirations of wanting to do more. I remember my mom was getting dressed to go out, and TV was on, and that's back when HBO first came out, and it was a big deal to have HBO.
Oh, absolutely.
And I looked, and I see this guy in a red suit making people laugh, and it was Eddie Murphy's Delirious. I said, Mom, I want to do that. I'm gonna do that. And she said, oh, okay, baby, yeah, Mama, proud of you. And just, it kept going. Not that she didn't believe, but, you're a kid, you're always talking about what you want to do, all the different things. But that stuck with me. My initial plan was to play basketball, and that didn't work out. So I come back home, fast forward, and I just started hanging out in the clubs, meet a good friend of mine named Stretch. And he's like, yo, you wanna hit the clubs? We go dancing, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. He introduced me to a whole nother crew, and we just danced, man. In New York, we would just dance. We would go to all the popular clubs, and we would dance a lot when, it was now Diddy, but Puffy would have his parties back in the day. Even before that, we'd go to Howard. He would have his big parties up there, and he's like, I want y'all to come up there and set it off, and we go up there and dance. So from that, it was a dare. A friend of mine named Khalif said to me, he said, oh man, you funny, you always impersonating people, because I could meet somebody and impersonate them on spot. And then he kept challenging me. He said, you need to go on stage, you need to go on stage. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I did one day, went to a place called the Uptown Comedy Club on 125th in Harlem. And they had an amateur segment where you had to do 2 to 3 minutes of comedy, which I thought was a lifetime back then. I finally got a chance to go on after going a couple of weeks and not getting the opportunity. I go on, I do my little set, and it was amazing. Like, the feeling I got from the people laughing because they're listening to me.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I had been a background dancer, for Salt and Pepper and all these other groups. And I was like, this is it. This is it right here. And that catapulted me. That I took off, did a movie called Juice, which is definitely a classic.
Right.
I was up for the main role, but that role went to Omar Epps, and then they said, man, we like this kid, let's give him something. So they gave me the little role with Latifah, and that became such a memorable role in the movie.
Yeah, right.
It was trending on TikTok, and I'm like, what the heck? So went from there. Then my friend Dougie Doug had a show on ABC called Where I Live. I played his best friend on there. I had to go and win the role. Got that, and it just kept going. I went from there. Kept doing stand-up. Then I did a show called Homeboys in Outer Space. Then a show after that called Total Security with Jim Belushi. It just kept going, man.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, when I created my show One on One. Story about that, I was in LA and it was at a time where things were slow and I was gonna give up. I was like, I'm done. And I had met my wife, Shanice. We were just friends at the time and I would just talk to her, I would just vent. And I said, man, I can't take this anymore, man. I'm going back to New York. And she was like, you can't do that, you're too talented. She said, you gotta create your own stuff. Do you have anything that you, and I was like, well, yeah, I gotta show about this, guy again, about, so, and it came from a friend of mine in Harlem who was a single dad, and that's how it came about.
Really?
Yeah. So I kind of fast-tracked everything, but that's how everything went.
Well, I'm gonna jump back and insert question that happened in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
So you were on Def Comedy Jam,
right?
Yeah,
I did that too. I forgot that.
But you used to tell this joke about your granddad.
Oh, the granddad, yeah.
So first of all, was any of that true?
Yeah, it was an uncle. It wasn't a grandfather. It was an uncle. It was an
uncle.
uncle, but I just made it a grandfather. But it was an uncle. I did. He always had a story. It was always something, man.
Now I know some of the stories aren't PBS friendly, but give me one of the stories that we can, not the elephant story.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to see if I can remember something right now. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me get back with you. Let's go to something else. Let me think of something. I'll think of something.
But as it relates to one-on-one, do your kids watch it?
No. Our kids, they watched a couple of episodes. They haven't even watched the whole season. I'm like, how you gonna do that? Our daughter pretty much grew up on the set. By the time our son was born and the show was ending, so he wasn't there that much. But their friends watch it. I think it's a bigger deal for their friends that I'm just dad. So it's not a big deal. So
it's hard to impress your kids.
It's so hard. But the cool thing is it gave me another generation. It gave us, the whole show, another generation of supporters and kids who didn't know about us. So now we have my age group down to 12-year-olds that watch it. I get people coming up to me, and, people reaching out on social media. Oh, my daughter loves the show. My son loves the show. And I'm happy about that. I'm so happy about that. Strong Black Lead, they were the ones who really were on the forefront for pushing for those shows, like my show, like Moesha, the Parkers, Girlfriends, all of them to get back on there. And we work. I can't say a whole lot, but we're working on something special for with One on One.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be looking out for it. Now, you've had quite a career. Mm-hmm. If you hung your boots up today, what do you think your biggest impact would be on the industry?
I can't hang my boots up today, man. I'm not finished.
A lot of work left to do.
I haven't made the impact that I truly want to make. I haven't gotten there yet. I feel like I've had moments, and I'm thankful for those moments. But I don't feel like I've reached that point where I could go, you know what? Okay, if it all stopped now, I'm cool. I'm just gonna ride off in the sunset. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
I understand. Look, I feel the same way, man. I have a lot more to do. Yes. A lot more I want to write in my final chapter.
Yes, sir, man. It's about legacy, man.
Absolutely. Now, you wrote a graphic novel called Joshua Run.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and your motivation behind it.
The Joshua Run came from, I'm a comic book head, so I love all things Marvel, all that stuff. Yeah. And I love graphic novels. And this just was an idea that I just thought about. I thought would be cool about this guy who's a tech, and he's tech savvy. He does helps people get things erased off their driving record and stuff like that. And he's working, and he comes across this encrypted file that leads straight up to the White House. And he leaves for lunch. And when he comes back, the office has been destroyed just because he clicked on, opened it. Yeah. They raided it. People were killed, and then now he's running for his life. And there's an agent that's on the FBI side that's actually helping him stay ahead of the game because she believes him and she knows what it is. It's the vice president is trying to have the president taken out because he's not following the agenda and actually really wants to do good. And that, and I was like, that would be cool for just a young kid to do, and we just haven't seen anything like that. It's basically like the Jason Bourne, but for us.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen that. So did the graphic novel, and it was cool. I don't think we got enough out of it that we could have, because in that space you really have got to put a lot into it. And my partner Dave Stewart III, he was buying a lot of properties from before, like Punky Brewster, Knight Rider. He owned those. But something like this, you got to pump marketing into it, and just do a little more. We needed to do some more, because my dream or my hope was to turn that into to a series.
Okay. Well, it's not too late.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just kind of pivot back a little bit to your earlier years. I grew up in a rural Mississippi community where there was more opportunity to do wrong than right. And you know, I think for us who made it out and became successful, we, in a lot of ways, beat the odds.
Yeah.
And I know I've looked at your history and your background, and I know that you came from similar situations, larger city, which means there was more opportunity. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in New York and the Bronx.
Man, growing up in New York, man, New York was the center of everything, man. It was so much fun, and I'm a '70s baby, and so I got to enjoy that '70s era. And then coming up into the early '80s, when hip hop hit the scene, Sugar Hill Gang. I remember the summers where the girls went in front of the building, jumping double dutch, and the fellas was playing the top, Skellies, and
remember the big boom boxes?
Oh yeah, the boom boxes, and we breakdancing, and we got linoleum out like that. When I think of New York, I close my eyes, and that's the vision I still get. Then crack era hit. I ended up, and it affected my family. My mom dealt with addiction, and two of my brothers did. And then I just started floating around, and I moved out to Brooklyn, and a cousin of mine and one of my neighbors across the street, my neighbor, I'm seeing him every week just looking like back, how we said back in the day, looking fresh. And we just with everything, the chain. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, yo, man, we pushing that weight. I'm like, well, what do you mean? I was like, I want to do that. And he hooked it up, and I started working in Brooklyn. And then we moved up to Rochester, New York. And I basically was, selling crack cocaine and some of the purest of the pure. Yeah, man, I went hard. And it was almost like, I was so angry at what it did to my family. I was like, I'm gonna pay society back, and this is what I'm gonna do. And I got to a point where it weighed on my conscience. Even all the money I was making, and I lied to my mom, told her I was working for the phone company. She was like, you ain't working for no damn phone company. She knew.
They don't pay you in cash.
Yeah. AT&T ain't reaching out and touching you like that. So, but I got to a point where one of the cats who was working with got pistol whipped and by the guys we were working for, and it just started getting bad, and I just saw it breaking down, and I said, listen, I'm gonna get out of here. I said anything. I said, I want to go back to school. I was making up whatever. And surprisingly, the guy I was working for was like, all right, cool. He said, but just remember, I know where you live. And I was like, you ain't got to worry about me saying nothing, And I got out, and then that following week, about a week and a half later, my partner, who I would partner up with, another friend of ours, cousin, took my place, went up there, and they were hanging outside, and these cats rolled up to rob the drug house, and he ran upstairs, and he looked out the window. They shot up and shot him in the heart, and that could have easily been me. And after that, I came back to Brooklyn, and I thought I learned my lesson, and I said, I'm gonna do a couple more little things. I'm walking to the train station, mind you, I'm actually packing at the time I'm walking. These brothers run up on me, and they're shouting, and I'm not understanding what they're shouting, throw me up on the gate, they're pushing me. Dude pulls out the gun, and literally he's pulling the trigger. He's pulling it. He just was pulling. It was jammed, and I punched him, and then I ran. I didn't even think. Let me reach to my gun, and I leave. I run to the train station, and there happens to be a police officer there, and he comes down to police officer comes down and he's figuring out what's going on. I said, man, he pulled the gun on me, and he got him, and he's starting to pat me down. He pats, and he does not feel the gun that I have on me. He got this guy, and he said, okay, we're gonna go down to the thing. And I was like, listen, I said, my mom is at the house, and I have a sick mother. I have to go tell her. And they literally drove me in the car to my house. I got out, went into the house, put the gun up, get back in to go back and go through the process.
Right.
And I'll never forget that. I'm like, I have angels watching over me, because I should have been caught. They should have caught me with that gun. They should have caught me, they should have not let me stop to go home.
Right.
And I never forgot that. And that same gun, my brother, who had a crack addiction at that time, took that gun and he sold it. And I came back and I was pissed, but in the end, that saved my life.
Yeah.
I kicked him out. He goes and lives with his sponsor, and he got clean. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I want to pivot back to HBCUs for just a minute. I know you attended but didn't complete your degree there, but still I think that you have had an impact on the lives that you touched while you were on that campus, because people that went to school with you, even though for a limited time, they still now look at you. And,
Now, probably, yeah.
Right.
Because at that time, I wasn't, doing what I'm doing now. I
Right.
was the funny guy and all that, but
Right.
it hadn't taken off yet.
Absolutely. But if you had to tell young people of color why they should consider going to an HBCU, what would you tell them?
Man, it's the best experience in the world. Even if I hadn't gone, I would tell them, like, that's why seeing what Deion Sanders is doing,
Right.
Brothers like him, like, and he getting that media hate,
Right.
but it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I would tell kids, get that experience. If you have a chance to go to Harvard and all those other places, that's great, but it won't be the same experience.
Right.
Right. It won't be. For the culture, for the history, and that's my thing: the history, the culture, alumni. You look at Chadwick Boseman, you look at Anthony Anderson, who's going to be getting his degree and graduating from Howard with his son.
Right.
I mean, where else could you do that?
It's unreal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're graduating bisons.
Yeah.
So that's dope.
And just to add to what you're saying, just that whole support system
Yeah.
that's there that you
Yeah.
can't get
Yeah.
when you're in a classroom with 150 other students.
Man, listen, if
Yeah.
you hungry and you go to Harvard, you can't go across the street to Bojangles and get a 3-piece.
Right.
You can't do it, but in North Carolina you can. In DC you
Right.
can. You can find somewhere to go and you can make friends with somebody. I made
Right.
friends with everybody. All the girls that worked in like Friendlies and Bojangles and all these other Hardee's. I made friends because that friendship, that turned into free meals.
Right, right. And I'm going to say this, Flex, I believe that your life that you live, the accomplishments that you have achieved have been impactful. And I think that although you may not have graduated from your HBCU, you have left a legacy that many people would like to follow. And so because of that, we want to present you with the HBCU Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow.
For your unwavering support
Oh, wow.
for historically black colleges and universities.
Oh, wow, man.
And so
Thank
we
you.
want to present this to you.
Thank you.
And we
Thank
appreciate
you.
all that you've done
Thank you.
to
Thank you
uplift
very much.
our people
Oh,
and to be a
man.
shining star.
Look at this, mama! I made it. I've never been acknowledged for anything, man. This is. I mean, other than your family.
Yeah.
Award-wise, man. So this, I don't take this lightly at all. I'm appreciative. I try to do it the right way. I've always tried to, make the culture proud.
Right.
And
you have done a great
I'm
job.
keep doing
man.
that.
You've beat all the odds.
Yes,
and,
sir.
all of us have had challenges we've had to overcome to get to where we are. And it's those challenges that make us who we are.
Yes, sir.
And
Look
so
at
for
my
all
uncle-
you've done, we want to honor you for that.
Thank you. My uncle would always say, and he'd tell me something, and And I'd be like, oh, but you ain't doing it. He said, boy, don't do as I do. Do as I say do.
Right. Well, Flex, it's been great having you on the show. I really appreciate you.
Man. Thank you.
To my viewers, I appreciate you watching. Flex Alexander, thank you for watching. HBCU with D Brown CEO. And remember, without you, there's no me.